They say sanity is the light that keeps us safe, the fragile line that separates reason from chaos. But no one tells you what happens when that light becomes a cage, when clarity becomes confinement, and when control begins to consume you. I once believed sanity was strength, the ultimate defense against the madness of the world, that to remain sane was to remain human. But as the years passed, I began to see the cracks forming. Sanity, I realized, wasn't freedom. It was performance, an act, a mask worn so convincingly that we forget there's a face beneath it. Every morning I'd wake up and rebuild the mask, smile in the mirror, speak carefully, move rationally. I'd say the right words, keep the right posture, show the right version of myself. And people would nod approvingly. They'd call it composure. They'd call it maturity. But it was just control, endless, exhausting control. The kind that strangles everything unpredictable, everything alive. Behind every logical thought, there was a silent scream, the mind begging to breathe. I had built my own prison brick by brick, thought by thought. And the irony was cruel. I called it sanity. There's something seductive about order. We tell ourselves that if everything is in its place, we'll finally find peace. But order isn't peace, it's stillness. And stillness, if prolonged, becomes suffocation. My mind became a carefully designed structure, symmetrical, polished, efficient. Every memory cataloged, every emotion labeled, every flaw hidden behind walls of logic. But in that perfection, something vital began to die. We like to think of the mind as a sanctuary, a safe place within chaos. But sometimes it's the mind itself that becomes the labyrinth. Every corridor, a thought you can't escape. Every reflection, a version of you no longer recognize. I used to find comfort in understanding things, in dissecting every feeling until it stopped hurting. But the more I understood, the less I felt. And the less I felt, the less alive I became. We are told that to control the mind is to master life. But what if mastery is just another form of fear? What if we're not meant to control the mind, but to listen to it? One night I stood before the mirror and watched myself in silence. I expected to see my reflection. Instead, I saw the version of me I had created, composed, precise, inhumanly calm. It was terrifying. There's a strange comfort in madness, in the unpredictable, in the raw and untamed, because it reminds us that we're still alive. But in the mirror, I saw the absence of chaos. A man too rational to feel, too self-aware to act. It wasn't strength, it was paralysis. I realized that control doesn't prevent collapse, it delays it. It builds pressure until the mind begins to turn inward, eating itself. Every suppressed emotion becomes a fracture in the mirror. Every unspoken fear, a crack in the foundation. We wear sanity like armor, but sometimes that armor grows heavy. And one day you can no longer tell if you're protecting yourself or imprisoning yourself. Thoughts have gravity. They circle us, orbiting endlessly, pulling us deeper into ourselves. You try to escape one thought, but another takes its place, just as heavy, just as loud. It's not madness that destroys you. It's repetition. It's the endless return of the same fears, the same doubts, the same need to make sense of everything. In time, you realize that thought itself can become a prison. Every analysis, another chain. Every explanation, another wall. And in that cage of intellect, something ancient begins to stir. The part of you that remembers what it was like to simply be. The part untouched by logic, unbroken by words. The part that existed before why and how. Sanity tells us that answers bring peace. But sometimes peace comes only when we surrender the need to understand. When the mind collapses, it doesn't explode. It implodes, quietly, gracefully, like a star folding in on itself. It doesn't announce its end with chaos. It whispers it, slowly, over years of silent endurance. You stop laughing at things that once made you alive. You stop dreaming, stop reaching, stop questioning. You become the echo of your own stability, a calm voice repeating, "I'm fine." But beneath that calm is decay, the kind that eats you in silence. Sanity was never meant to be permanent. It's a fragile equilibrium between the known and the unknowable. And when you lean too hard on one side, when you refuse to face the irrational, the balance breaks. The human mind isn't meant to live in constant understanding. It's meant to wander, to get lost, to fall and rise again. But I had built walls so high that even my own chaos couldn't reach me. And that's when I realized this wasn't safety. This was isolation disguised as order.
Sometimes collapse isn't destruction, it's indentation. The moment when the walls finally crack enough for the light to enter. In the ruins of my order, I began to hear something I had silenced for years, my own chaos. It spoke not in words, but in pulses, instincts, emotions, unfiltered truth. I listened, and for the first time in years, I felt alive. It was terrifying, that raw pulse of life returning, but also beautiful. I realized that madness and sanity aren't opposites. They're dance partners. Each exists to define the other. To deny your madness is to deny your humanity, and to embrace it doesn't mean losing control. It means remembering that control was never real. When I finally stopped resisting, I didn't fall into darkness. I fell into silence. And in that silence, I found peace. Not the peace of control, but the peace of surrender. Now I see the truth. Sanity was never the goal. It was a threshold, a bridge we must cross, not a room we must live in. When you cling to sanity, you cling to limitation. But when you step beyond it, you discover something far greater. Awareness without fear. Consciousness without confinement. The mind isn't a machine to be perfected. It's a living night, full of stars that only appear when we stop chasing daylight. And in that night, every shadow is a teacher, every silence a guide. I no longer fear the parts of me that feel too much or think too deeply. They are not my enemies. They are the proof that I'm still here. We spend our lives trying to be sane, to stay balanced, to stay acceptable. But maybe life isn't meant to be balanced. Maybe it's meant to be felt. Sanity is the promise of comfort, but it comes at a cost. You trade your depth for predictability, your freedom for peace, your truth for quiet. And yet, in the darkness beyond sanity, there is a voice that whispers, "You can let go now." And when you do, when you stop holding on to the illusion of control, that's when you truly begin to see. You see that madness isn't chaos, it's creation waiting to be understood. It's the mind daring to feel everything it was told to suppress. And in that rawness, you meet yourself, not the version the world approves of, but the one that's been waiting to breathe. They told me sanity would keep me safe, but all it did was keep me contained. And now, standing beyond it, I finally understand. Freedom isn't found in control. It's found in surrender. Not in silencing the mind, but in listening to it. Not in fear of the abyss, but in learning to walk through it. Because the abyss isn't what devours us, it's what reveals us. If this voice reached something within you, if it spoke to the part of you that still breathes beneath the performance, remember this: you don't have to keep pretending. You don't have to keep wearing the mask of sanity. You can stop performing your way back to peace. You can simply stand still and listen. Welcome back to the place where silence speaks, where the shadows guide, and where the mind is no longer your enemy. If you've walked this far with me through the dark, subscribe to Within the Abyss, not to escape the darkness, but to explore it, to understand it, and to find the light hidden within it.